What is the most offensive thing a customer has ever said to you? If you work in any kind of retail/supermarket store, then you are a verbal punching bag for old bastards or young idiots. We get a lot of rich stay-at-home mothers come in with their babies at my job, and one of them was all like, see, you want to go to school and do well with education, or you could end up like that man, me, over there. I was just about to stutter about my degree when some young fella walks by giving zero fucks and says, hey lady, not all of us can fuck our way up the food chain. Maybe taking a job like this would help take that silver spoon out your mouth and give you an insight into a day's hard work. Hero. I work taking orders for a chain pizza joint in a call center. A lady calls to order pizza and it's a pretty standard call. Thank you for calling. What is your address? What toppings? Etc. When out of nowhere she proclaims, I'm a teacher and you are what's wrong with America. I bet you can't even spell pepperoni. Do something with your life and get a real job. I won't lie. After I finished the order I hung up the phone and started crying. I was 18. And worked 40+ hours a week to support myself and my little sister who lived with me. I had no idea why a total stranger would be so mean to me. Today I have a master's degree and a real job. I'm a teacher. This guy was trying to get insurance information from his ex-wife over the phone. I was new to the pharmacy and didn't realize I could get it off of her profile. She, not realizing she's on speakerphone, said, what kind of fucking idiots do they have working there? Everybody in the store heard her say it. The guy saw how embarrassed I was, looked at me saying, that's why she's my ex-wife. I worked at the paint department at Lowe's, and one time an older black couple said I was making them wait because they were black, even though they were behind 3 people I was helping. I asked them how could they possibly think that, and they said, your ears turned red when you talk to us. That's how we know you're racist. WTF. My first job was as a waitress, and I had a particularly surly old man one day that spent the duration of his meal insulting me, asked me to turn around for him, criticized the way I styled my hair, and overall just gave me a hard time about every little thing. He left without giving me much of a tip, even though I tried my best to remain polite and professional. The lady sitting at the table beside me noticed how rude he was and went out of her way to compliment me and left me a $20 tip on a $40 bill. It was probably my first real life encounter when I realized that despite the grumps in the world, there are people out there that show genuine sincerity and kindness to strangers. Best retail story. When I was at Target, the girl I was working with in electronics was ringing up a snobby 30-something with her 6-ish-year-old daughter. They obviously came from money based on what they were wearing. The mom says to the daughter, see baby, this is why you have to stay in school. You don't want to work at Target like this girl. Without hesitation, the girl I work with, who was only 20 at the time, turned to the daughter and said, actually I'm working here to help pay my nursing school tuition. I work 30 hours a week and go to school on top of that. Your mom is right though. You don't want to work in retail because you have to put up with ridiculous bitches like your mother. Epic. I would never have the balls to say something like that, and was especially moved because I was only working at Target because my economics bay hadn't gotten me a real job in the 6 months since I received my diploma. Now I have a real job in banking. My rule as a customer. When another customer is rude, I defend the clerk vehemently. Clerks worry about their jobs. Customer is always right and crap like that, and are therefore easy victims for bully customers. I do not have that restriction, and I'm happy to say what the clerk would if he or she could. Let's all make the world a better place. A guy came up to the register and ordered a cheeseburger. You can't mess that up, right? Well, I take his money, give him his change, and a minute later his cheeseburger. A few seconds after I hand him the cheeseburger, he looks at me and goes, you stupid inbreed piece of shit, I wanted a Big Mac. I was 16 at the time and was horrified that a grown man would shout at a freaking kid over something that was not my fault. My manager came over and ripped this guy a new one for being so stupid. Was in a store and overheard a little girl asking her mom asked to buy some cookie dough in a tube. The mother exclaimed, you don't want that, it'll give you cancer. Can't you smell the cancer? She then proceeded to allow her daughter to smell the dough so she could experience the scent of cancer. Worst thing I had ever heard an adult tell a child. What a dick. I used to work at Best Buy, and my first week on the job we were getting ready close up, and every other cashier decided it was time to go dick off. So I'm stuck with a line of at least 6 deep. A couple walks up with a TV, PS3, several games etc. Obviously the total was a couple thousand. Tell them the price, let's say $2,000. They proceed to sit there and try to haggle with me. Then the wife, who had to be 60, called me a shit stain on society among other things. I guess she thought I set the prices. There was a big line at my work and only 2 of us working. So I ended up being the only one on cash with a huge line. I was going fairly quickly and still being cheerful, so I thought I was doing fine. Then this woman about 2 customers back says, loudly, this retarded girl shouldn't be allowed to be on till alone, if she is going to be that slow. Also she said this to her 8-year-old daughter. Late to the party. I was working at Panera Bread. Lunch had just started. I worked at the cash register and I didn't have anyone to serve. Well, a Korean lady walked in, followed by a white Southern lady walked in. This lady was fucking pissed off about something. She marched in as the Korean lady walked up to the register. The Korean lady was about to ask a question when the Southern lady grabbed his shoulder and whipped her around. Who the fuck do you think you are? She said it so loud, like a coach yelling at a player. In America we open the door for one another. We are polite. Well, she kept going on and on about how rude and obnoxious this Korean lady was, but there was no rebuttal because the Korean lady didn't have a wide enough vocabulary to argue back, and she was really shy. I went around the counter and stood in between them. I grabbed the Korean lady so I could look into her eyes. I said, don't listen to her, she is crazy. The Southern lady decided to start hating me. Don't help out that disrespectful shit. Get away with this. They need to learn themselves some English before they come to our country and steal our jobs. I turned to the Southern lady and told her to get the F out. I was super pissed off at her racism. She argued with me about how I couldn't refuse service. My manager took over the situation and she was told to never come back. This is when I realized that the entire store had been watching me when I told her to get out. I must have looked like such an ass to people who didn't know / hear the situation. My manager offered to let the Korean lady have a free lunch and I said that I would pay for it instead. So I told her to get whatever she wanted and even grab some sort of pastry to go. She pulled me aside afterward, gave me a hug and told me that the lady had been following her around the parking lot, beeping her horn every couple of seconds. I never saw either one of them again, and I worked there for 2 years, but it wasn't until the day I quit that I found out that she had written in about me in the store. I read it every once and a while just because it reminds me of one of the cool things I have ever done. If you read this, thanks edit. I'm in awe that this has so many upvotes. I wrote it thinking that it would be at the bottom of I think 500 at the time and never get read. Sort of along the lines. I was working at Future Shop over Christmas a few years back. Mom and son come in. She's getting his present early and would like me to help her out with the best deals / games etc. because she doesn't know anything about it. So I'm showing her the GBASPs, the features, the games etc. She's really nice, appreciates the help etc. The kid is about 16 or so, and every time the mom asks me a question, he gets all impatient and says, God mom, I already told you all of this. Fuck. She doesn't say anything, so I just ignore him. His attitude the entire time was so ridiculous. She's into her buying him over $200 worth of stuff, wants to know about what she's buying, and he's being a complete dick to her the entire time. Finally, after about 20 minutes of this, I said something about the service plan. She says she always gets it on things like this, and the kid says which is fucking retarded, and I snapped. I said straight to his face, good lord kid, your mom is here buying you all this stuff and this is how you treat her? And by the way, it's not retarded, my brother is retarded and is a million times more grateful than you for every little things he gets. Grow up. He looked at me stunned. The mom looked at me like wow that was great. Kid finally messed his up, don't buy from this bitch. Mom says are you kidding me? I'm buying everything from her from now on. She ended up spending the $200 plus on herself. D.